Hi everyone, and welcome to the Black Pearl Bakery. This is Jolene, my sourdough starter, and I just fed her, and that's our discard that I use to make other recipes with. And Jolene has just been fed using the 1-1-1 method, and I'm looking forward to making some sourdough bread with her tomorrow. This is how she looks, and but this is the Black Pearl Bakery, and I have been baking sourdough bread for 4 years and absolutely love it. So we'll check her in the morning and see how she's doing. So again, it's 5:30. All right, now this is the next morning. Looks like we've got some great activity. It's 9 a.m. And look at all the bubbles. She grew. She did really well, so she's more than doubled. And it looks like we've also had where she's risen and fallen just a little bit. So let's take a look at her. Oh, she's beautiful. She's nice and bubbly, very active. She is ready to make some bread. I'm so excited. But look at how well she does. The 1-1-1 method, I think, is really, really good. I also use a 1-10-10 sometimes, but this 1-1-1 is doing really, really well. So let's get her and let's start making some bread with her. So here I am. I've got my scale getting ready to bake. I did put on some FDA approved gloves to bake with. And so I'm just showing you my black gloves, which goes well with the Black Pearl Bakery. So now I'm going to start adding my sourdough starter. So I'm going to add about 100 grams of Jolene to the mixture. Of course, must be sitting here yapping my mouth and talking a little bit, but I'm not very good at editing, so I've got to do a little bit better at editing my video. But I'm going to add, this is a basic sourdough loaf, so let's start there. So this is going to make one loaf. I've tried several loaves, different recipes, and this recipe is absolutely hands down my favorite, and this is the one that works the absolute best. So here I'm adding Jolene, about 100 grams of sourdough discard. Not discard, sorry, this is not discard. This is Jolene, my active sourdough starter. So she's a very good active starter. She's really strong. And this recipe that I'm making, I have tried several different recipes, and this is my tried and true. So I really love this recipe. If you want to take this and you want to make more than one loaf, you certainly can. So you can double the recipe. But here's 100 grams of Jolene that I'm adding here. And look at her. Yep, see all the bubbles and how well she's doing. And please forgive me, my editing is terrible, but I'm going to get better with this because I really want you to see and get a more close-up view of how well that she's looking in the bowl. So here looks like I'm just talking and running my mouth. So here I'm showing you Jolene and talking. I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm just talking. But one thing that you do see is that I'm using a clear bowl here because that way I can watch everything and watch her growth. But look at how beautiful she is. And I must have been talking about how strong she is and how starting with a strong sourdough starter is your good base. And here I'm adding 300 grams of filtered water. You can use bottled water, which is filtered. I ran out, so you can use filtered water out of the refrigerator, which I have done. And so I'm adding it to this to Jolene. And so I'm going to pour her in there and get that to 300 grams of water. I think with this one, that's 350 grams of water. I'm sorry, it's 350 grams of water. And so I'm in Georgia and I'm in the South, so the humidity is pretty high here. So during the summertime, like on this day, the temperature got up to like 90 degrees, and it's in the morning and it's already 80 degrees. So I'm decreasing the hydration in this recipe just because it's so moist. And here I'm showing you, my husband's going to kill me because I'm using his master's cup. So I had to clean that and put that back. But here I'm just showing you, I did use a little less, but if you're in the north or when the weather gets cooler here, I will be using the full hydration of 350 grams of water. But here I think I cut it down to like 325, just a little bit, and just to lower my hydration. Now, all sourdough recipes do not call for this, but this is something that I always do. I usually put in about 2 teaspoons of sugar, just because sourdough is like yeast, it loves sugar. So here I am, I'm mixing it up. You do not have to do the sugar, it's not going to affect anything. I just like adding it. I just want my sourdough to have a little sugar, my sourdough mixture in there, the wet part to have a little bit of sugar in it. So looks like here I'm doing some more talking. I'm going to use here I am. I was just sitting here showing you my face because I felt funny because I was filming and you couldn't see my face to match with my voice. So here I'm doing a clear bowl, and the reason why I'm using the clear bowl is because this is what we're going to mix all the ingredients in. This is where we're going to do the stretch and folds. This is where she's going to bulk ferment. And so here, when she is bulk fermenting, especially during this time, I can really watch and see how she's rising and how well she's growing in the bowl. It's easier to see with a glass bowl. I have used white ceramic bowls as well, and then the silver tin bowl, so that works very well too. So this recipe calls for 500 grams of bread flour. So what I'm doing is I'm using, of course, King Arthur's bread flour. It's the best. I do tweak all my recipes. I just kind of play with them a little bit. So in this particular recipe, what I have found that works best is doing 400 grams of the King Arthur's bread flour. So again, you can do the original recipe, which is 500 grams of flour. You can use all white King Arthur's flour. And it works great and it turns out really good, but I like a little bit more flavor. I'm going to tell you, hands down, everybody has been more complimentary over this particular recipe. Like I said, what I recommend that you all do is get your recipes, play with them, tweak them, get them to your liking based off of your humidity, the temperature where you're at located. But here in the South, like I said, it's high humidity right now. So I'm doing 400 grams of King Arthur's bread flour. Then I'm also using 100 grams of Bob's Red Mill flour using the spring red berry cut. And this just adds a little bit more flavor. And I'm going to tell you, even though this is all wheat flour, but the whole wheat, I'm going to tell you, sourdough loves the leaven, loves the whole wheat. And like I said, I've done them both, but this has been hands down my favorite. And I'm just going to tell you, my family, even my grandchildren, just snatch this and they eat it up. And all the good things that come with sourdough bread. It's healthy, it's gut healthy, it's better for you. And, doctors say that they want you to eat bread, and if you do eat bread, they prefer that you eat sourdough bread. There's a lot of good nutrition in it, and we love it. And there's so many different things you can do with this. I've done so many things, and I'll talk about that in the next video. But here I'm, trying to get to the 100 grams of the Bob's Red Mill flour, and so I've got that in there. And so now I'm going to add 10 grams of salt. So I use sea salt. You can use whatever type of salt you want. You can use table salt, sea salt. I've seen people use pink Himalayan sea salt. There's all, so just use whatever you prefer. Like I said, you can tweak it and make it your own taste, and you'll know when you bake this if you like it. I'll tweak recipes and I'll say, okay, I like this, but I didn't like this. And once you get something that you just absolutely love, 100% you wouldn't change, that will become your new basic loaf. So this is my new basic loaf. And so here I'm adding 10 grams of sea salt. And I'm just going to sprinkle it in. This little spoon, I love it because it actually measures 2 grams, but sometimes I'll heap it on there and I'll get a little bit more than 2 grams. But here I am, I'm talking. I'm just talking and I'm showing you the sea salt. I'll get much better at editing my video, so I apologize. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. You have to start somewhere. So this is where I'm starting. So I'm measuring in slowly but surely the sea salt. And if you hear a dog barking in the background, that's my dog. She's in trouble because I'm also baking the most fantastic chocolate chip cookies. And I had one set of cookies in the oven baking, and I had another on standby ready to go in, using a new technique so I couldn't have both sheet pans in at the same time. And what does she do? She jumps up on the counter and she eats not one but 2 of these huge chocolate chip cookies of the raw cookie dough. So they were like 5.7 ounces each. That's what she just ate. She's going to be sick. So she's, I think, going to stay outside tonight. Anyway, here I am, mixing my dough, just mixing, not the dough, mixing in the flour, just all the ingredients with the salt and just getting it all incorporated. And now it's the fun part. Now we get to add our leaven. So I'm going to add her here. And you see, you can tell I'm from the South because I'm making a well. That's just what we do in the South. We make wells whenever we bake bread. So here I'm scraping. I want every drop of that sourdough leaven in here. Every little drop. That's me. I'm getting it in there. Yep, I'm a little obsessed with it. Can you tell? Look at me. I'm still digging, and it's just really almost empty. So I'm using the dough hook, and I'm going to start mixing this and just keep on at it. I have used this dough hook from beginning to end. I've used it to mix with from the beginning, and then use my hands to mix it with. I've done it all different kinds of ways. Again, you do you. You do what's best for you. You know, when you're mixing this, there's no wrong way to do it. I always start with the dough hook. Like I said, sometimes I finish with it, but I have found, and I've been using this other method, using the dough scraper, which you'll see in a minute. But you can get this all mixed in. I think the most important thing is to make sure you've got all your flour incorporated into the leaven. And so this is mixy. I thought that I had fast forwarded or sped this part up, but apparently I did not. But that's okay. So here I'm mixy. And here I am, you can see, using the dough scraper. And this is a method if I could remember the other creators' names who have done this, I just cannot remember. But anyway, I'll tag them when I can remember who did it. So, because I like to give credit where credit's due, because, you know, I had to learn to do this. And I've watched several creators, several people, and I'm not a gatekeeper, and nor is there's, I think it's the Prindle. I'm going to look up and I'm going to tag her in this video. But she is absolutely phenomenal. And she's taught me a lot of different techniques just watching her. And basically, you know, when you've got a basic sourdough recipe, you don't need to pay for it. If somebody's charging you for it, don't pay for it. There's plenty of them out there. These recipes have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, passed down from other countries and other families throughout the generations. There's plenty of them out there on Pinterest, on TikTok, on, you can Google and play with them. Don't pay for something. When I see people charging for a basic sourdough loaf recipe, I just cringe. Here, this is the basic one. 100 to 125 grams of sourdough starter to 350 grams of water, lukewarm, don't use cold, and then 500 grams of bread flour, 10 grams of sea salt. And then you can tweak it and make it whatever you want from there. But that's the basic recipe. And here I am. I've started with the dough scraper, got it all mixed in there, and I'm just double checking just to make sure that there is not any flour, on the bottom of the bowl that's not incorporated into the leaven mixture. And so here she is getting that shaggy dough. All right, so here I am just making sure that I've got all of the flour incorporated. And so now I have a shaggy dough. So here you can see how shaggy she is. And so we're done. I'm taking off the gloves and we're going to let her rest for 1 hour. I'm going to get a tea towel, one that is not terry cloth, so there's no nothing that will fall off of the towel. So this is a basic tea towel, and she's just going to sit here for an hour before we start our set of stretch and folds. So join me for part 2.